Hi, I'm Dan Bailey from Crest. We have partnered up with LookSee Build to help essentially provide financial services to you as you come to or look to come to New Zealand. In the following presentation, we'll cover off a couple of key aspects for when you do come to New Zealand. Initially, it's the short-term things like setting up a bank account, trying to get credit, probably more based around getting car loans. As you come to New Zealand, you'll want to have a look around this fantastic country. From there, we can also help with pension transfers and insurance, which relates to life, health, contents. And then later on in that presentation, we will then work through those longer term goals, which may be to buy a home here and look to do investments, commercial property, maybe a little bit around businesses for your partner or even yourself in time. From here, we then sort of work through with you and help you along the path to sort of embedding yourself in New Zealand and settling here. The key message for us is that we are here to help in regard to your financial services, your financial service needs. Please feel free to send through questions in the presentation, and I look forward to taking your questions during it and after. Thanks very much.
I'm going to go through this presentation with you and just cover off a few of the more important things that you will be looking to do before and when you get to New Zealand. So first of all, we'll cover off just setting up a bank account. That's probably the main thing that you'll need to do for various reasons. The good news is that all of New Zealand's major trading banks will allow you to set your account up from your home country. So you can set up your internet banking, get account numbers, and start depositing funds straight away. You're not going to be able to access those funds until you come to New Zealand with a valid passport or identification, and also some address verification, be that from your home country or your new residence. And obviously you'll want those to line up around the address verification. So once you move to New Zealand and you've got a permanent address, then you probably want to go onto your internet banking and amend it there. New Zealand's probably no different to any other country as far as the anti-money laundering rules and the like. So it has probably taken a little while to catch up here in New Zealand, but it would be like most other countries in the world now. Potentially not quite as strict, but still, say passport and address verification are important. What you'll need your bank account, obviously, for to start with, is to obviously to get your first lot of wages or salary from your employer. Obviously, to start paying your rent out, along with insurance. Now, there's probably just a couple of key areas to cover off. You won't be able to get credit cards, EFTPOS cards, and debit cards until you arrive in New Zealand and provide your passport and address verification. So you'll need to go and get that ordered. On top of that, you'll probably want to look to get a reputable foreign currency company to transfer your funds. I would probably recommend that you don't use the banks, just purely because they charge quite a lot, and I know that you can get there are better options out there. New Zealand has a Swift code process for system for depositing funds. So when you want to deposit funds from your home or from your home country and from your bank, you'll need a specific Swift code for the New Zealand bank that you're dealing with, and from there you then have your 13-digit account number. So you'll need to use that. New Zealand doesn't have the IBAN system. Doing all these things is really good because what it allows you to do is you start to build up that credit rating, which will be important when we go to the next part. The next page is setting up life in New Zealand. Just some short-term considerations for you to have a think about. Probably one of the things that I see most is around your home deposit and the cash that you bring here. So often people come here and use all their cash to set up their homes and buy cars and various other things which you need. What I would do though is I would encourage you to keep as much of that cash as you can for your home deposit in the future. I'll go on to that a little bit more in the next part of the presentation, but keeping that cash is really important. Next along the lines is our life and health insurance that we have in our current country, does that extend to New Zealand? In all likelihood, it probably doesn't. So you'll need to have a talk to somebody about life, health, trauma and disability insurance. New Zealand does have a very good health sector. We have ACC, which covers off work accidents, workplace and out of the workplace. And we have a pretty reasonable health system, public health system available for almost everyone. And again, it depends on your visa, but you will get assistance. But again, it's still worth having a chat with us, and I'll provide a bit more detail at the end around that. Are my household assets protected? So, is the stuff that you're bringing in on your container, once it's here and landed in your home, is it protected? You'd probably want to look to get contents insurance, and with that, quite often you get public liability insurance, so that if you do something that causes a significant event, like you had some sort of public building or that needs an insurance claim, then you would be covered under that. So that contents insurance is probably just as important for the public liability. And then from there, also, you probably want to look to make sure that you've got your IID number and that you've taken on some good tax advice. So your employer, when you've got here, should have helped you with getting that IID number, but if not, then you would need to contact the New Zealand IID and request an IID number. And again, if you've been living in another country, which you would have been, then you would probably want to make sure that you get a little bit of tax advice from an accountant. The next part of the presentation is putting down roots in New Zealand, just some longer term considerations. Can I buy a home in New Zealand with the visa that I have? Currently, if you're on a work visa and a residence visa or a residence visa, then you can buy a property in New Zealand. That may change in April, May 2018, depending on how the new government determines offshore buyers. But at the moment, you can do that, and most banks will allow you to borrow up to 80% of that property value on those visas to purchase your own property. Some will even let you go a little bit higher to 90%, but it gets a lot stricter, and there are some restrictions, or there's a bit of a rationing of that type of lending. So unfortunately, being or not having a New Zealand passport, you probably get pushed down that a little bit, but generally if you've got 20%, there shouldn't be a problem with you buying a home for yourself. How do I buy a home in New Zealand? It's quite similar to the UK system, so our law is based on the UK system. We have a lot of tenders, price buy negotiations here in New Zealand, and the market in Wellington is still pretty strong, but we are finding that Auckland is cooling down quite a lot, and Christchurch is fairly subdued as well. So, and then outside of that, you've got sort of regions that are pretty buoyant, and others that are a bit quieter. So we've seen quite a large increase in house prices over the last 2 years, or in Auckland's case, 5 years. How do I buy a home in New Zealand? You'll need a lawyer. You'll also need a mortgage advisor who deal with the banks. So those are probably the two key people, and from there you'd look at other trades like building inspectors and valuers and the like. Next topic is, can my pension be transferred to New Zealand? As I say, at the end I'll introduce some of the experts that we have around pension transfers from the UK. We can do quite a few of them. Outside of that, it will depend on that particular pension scheme and the country that it's from. KiwiSaver, you've probably potentially heard a little bit about this. This is a non-compulsory superannuation scheme in New Zealand. Minimum contribution is 3% of your salary, all the way up to 8%. Your employer will often provide a minimum of 3%, and some will even match whatever your contributions are, depending on who your employer is. So this is available if you're on a residence visa, and there are some benefits to KiwiSaver if you're looking to buy a home. So if you contribute for 3 years, then you can take your money out and any investment gains to use as your deposit, and the government will also provide you some around about $3,000 all the way up to $5,000 of it if you contribute for 5 years. So there are some benefits with KiwiSaver. Final part of the presentation is just covering off what we've talked about and just some of the solutions that we can offer you at Crest with regard to a lot of these matters. So Crest is a financial services business. We provide life, health, trauma and disability insurance cover, which sits over the public sector here. We also do UK pension transfers, and on top of that, we can also do provide investment advice and KiwiSaver advice and solutions as well. So some of you will have investments offshore. If you wanted to bring those to New Zealand, we can assist with that. The other side of things is we offer home, business and commercial loans. So we do that through the various banks in New Zealand and non-banks as well. So essentially we act on your behalf and provide you with options from the banks for you to consider. On top of that, and probably works in a little bit more with maybe those short-term needs, is around car loans and personal loans. When you're setting up your bank account and you've been here for a little while, your credit rating will start off at a sort of an average, and then it will go either up or down from there. So you should be able to get credit reasonably quickly in New Zealand. It doesn't start from zero. You do get set here at the average, and therefore it moves up and down from there. So you don't have to wait a huge amount of time before you get those types of facilities in place. So look, the main thing is at Crest, we're here to help around the financial services, and obviously there's a lot of other pieces of advice or information that you'll want that relate to all of these sort of key solutions that we offer. And in our position, we like to be able to offer advice. We know that you're new to New Zealand, and it's a different country, and most of us have lived in other countries as well, so we know that it's not always easy. But main thing is we're here to help and provide the best advice possible. My name's Dan Bailey from Crest, and look forward to seeing you out here and helping you with your financial needs.
Cool. I would expect that after seeing the presentation, you've probably got more questions than you had at the start of it, and that's very common for going through this experience. It is different in New Zealand. I've worked in other countries, and it is similar, especially if you come from the UK. But there still is that the little nuances that are New Zealand. So the key message here is that we're here to help. So, when it comes to your financial services, we can connect you with the right people or help you ourselves. Feel free to send through questions. Again, the more questions, the better. We're here to help. And that's one thing you'll learn about Kiwis, is that generally we're here to help and we like to look after each other. Thanks very much. Dan Bailey from Crest.